guys, and welcome back to the Chaotic Kids channel, where I, Michelle, document my life here on YouTube as I try to become a full-time author while also traversing the world of multiple personalities. If that sounds interesting to you, stick around. But today we are going to be talking about the latest book that I read, which is The Three Ordinary Voices of God. And then we will also talk briefly about the next book I'm planning on reading, which is the Do Something Beautiful for God, The Essential Teachings of Mother Teresa. So if that sounds interesting to you, go ahead and stick around and let's get started. Hey guys, today is March 20th. No, 22nd. 22nd. Anyways, yesterday I finished the Three Ordinary Voices of God. Basically, the very quick summary, well, I'm just kind of reading the back here. But God hasn't stopped speaking to us. We've stopped listening. And further down, this is a simple, powerful guide. Matthew Kelly demonstrated that God speaks to everyone, whether we are aware of it or not, through three ordinary voices: our needs, our talents, and our desires. And basically, through this, there's a chapter of each one. So our needs, our talents, and our desires. And I found all of it really interesting, and I will say, as I was reading this, I was gonna say story, as I was reading this, I did come across a lot of interesting things that I was like, I feel like not only do I relate to, but also, I, felt like it was still God, I felt God was speaking to me through all these things. Which is obviously a good thing that I can hear his voice, even though sometimes it does get muddled with everything else going on in my life. But yeah, I really, really found this enjoyable. Like I said, I just as I was reading each one, I journaled, read this, took notes on it in my little red folder. I mean, little red notebook. And I would have highlighted in this, but this is a copy that I got from my local church. So I'll have to return it. But I definitely really enjoyed it. There was some aspects that, it's not that I didn't agree with, it was just I couldn't understand, if that makes sense. But there were still also other aspects that I really related to, because, this book talks a lot about the well, it doesn't talk a lot, but the how people mislive their life. People think that people have the idea of pretty much have FOMO, the fear of missing out, while also misliving their life, because they live their life so much wanting to do all these things, wanting to just not miss out on life itself, wanting doing all different aspects of life. Well, really, you should just live in the moment and just find joy in the moment. So it says in here, the joy of missing out. So just being you know what? No, I don't need this in my life. I just want to have joy. Which makes me think about my whole religious idea of possibly becoming a sister. And I'm just is that not is that something I relate to, but do I do fear on missing out on say my nieces and nephews growing up, but at the same point I'm maybe I should find joy, I don't know, I don't know. Becoming a religious sister is something that's been on my mind for a while, and as I was reading this book, I felt each need and desire and talent feeling called to do religious life. But at the same point, I was I don't know, because I fear so much of missing out on my nieces and nephews' life, because they're such an important part to who I am and stuff. Because as I've said, Shelly, one of my pen names, she writes those books up there. She writes our books for our nieces and nephew to kind of inspire them and be hey, you can do anything you put your mind to, and your aunt will support you no matter what. And I almost fear of them, almost resenting me for doing this, and I don't know. I'm like I said, I'm doing some discerning about it. Not like talking to other people discerning, just doing it myself and really contemplating some things. But yeah, this whole idea of like God speaking through us in different needs and desires and talents was really something to think about. I also really enjoyed how Matthew Kelly wrote, like his writing style and stuff. There wasn't an extra. There was like five. I think there's 5 chapters and an epilogue in this chapter in this book. I mean, yeah, there's 5 chapters and an epilogue in this book. Super short read. I read it within this month. Mostly because I struggle with reading some days. Um, but I'll kind of give you like a list of like the table of contents, like the chapters. So chapter 1 is to let your life speak. Chapter 2 is our first voice, which is needs. Chapter 3 is our second voice, talents. Chapter 4, the third voice, is desires. And chapter 5, the ultimate desire. I won't necessarily go into that just because it's personal for each person. But epilogue then is to come to quiet, which it talks a lot about like, sitting in silence and just being like sitting there with God in front of the sacrament while you're praying. Just sit there and listen, because like a lot of people when they pray, they just talk at Jesus and like do like unload their life, and but we should also take that moment and just sit there and be like listening for him, because he speaks to us, because he's our Father and he wants to comfort us, not, well, yeah, comfort us, and he wants to also guide us too. So it's just really, really nice. Yeah, I will say I've been slowly implementing into my life having silent prayers. Like, so what I do in the evening is I, like, at 5-ish, I start praying the rosary. I usually do one, and I used to have background noise playing. Um, excuse me, but I didn't really, like, I did like it, but at the same point, I was like, I feel like I'm getting out of this prayer, so I'm like, I'm trying to stop that. Um, but yeah, just also getting just to sit there with scriptures, sitting there wherever you are, and just listening to God. It was really nice. So yeah, I would highly suggest reading this book. Like I said, I got this from my local church. I remember seeing there, and I remember being at the church, and I think I saw several other books by Matthew Kelly. So I would be highly suggested reading more books by Matthew Kelly. Actually, I went to my local mission center, or what do we call it? It's just called the Mission, like people where you can go buy stuff. And I found this book, which is The Four Signs of a Dynamic Catholic, which is also written by Matthew Kelly. And like he, I haven't read this book yet, but I'm just like he. I don't know. Like I've always been kind of wondering, like I don't know. I don't know how to put this, but like writing, like I feel like he has to be really in his faith to write spiritual books. Like I don't think people can actually just like I don't know how to put this, but like if you're writing religious books, you have to believe it fully. And obviously these are all Catholic books. But I'm like, you can't just write these books on a whim, You have to really be in your faith. And eventually I would love to do a memoir. I don't think I'll ever do, like, self-help books. But I would like to do a memoir about my life and how I found God, how my voices helped me, like, you're doing a mental health aspect while also tying into a religious aspect. Just because, like, that is my story. Like, not necessarily my story entirely, but, like, those are two aspects of me that speak volumes almost. So it'd just be interesting to write that story, and I've always wanted to inspire the next generation. And, like, I also have a desire to become a saint, and probably won't happen, but, I can do small things to make it better. Not make it better, but do small things to pursue. Anyways, yeah, that'd be super interesting. I'll talk briefly about this next book I'm reading, this is the next book I'm reading, which is Do Something Beautiful for God, The Essential Teachings of Mother Teresa. I don't really know how I'm going to be reading this book, strictly because, like, it's got, like, daily thoughts almost. But I'm like, I'm not keeping this book for a year because this also came from that church, and I'm like, I have to eventually give it back. I'm almost using the church as a library almost, which is weird. But I do want to read this and do the similar thing where I'm journaling about it. So I don't know how I'm gonna read it. But yeah, I also, after I get done reading this, or during the time that I'm reading this, I would love to do a picture book about Mother Teresa, because she is a saint. Just because, she is such an influential person in everyone's life. She motivated so many people. She won a Nobel Prize, so I'm like, her story would be interesting to write a picture book about. Yeah, so I don't know. I will leave links to both the Three Ordinary Voices of God and Do Something Beautiful for God in the description. So if you're interested in picking them up, go ahead and pick them up. But that's kind of all I gotta say for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys like listening to me talk, you guys can definitely subscribe to the channel. I don't usually say that, but it would be nice to see some subscribers and get to talk to you guys. But yeah, that's all I gotta say. I hope you guys all have a lovely day, and remember to keep making fantasies come true, one story at a time, okay? And I'll see you guys later, okay? Bye!